I want to somehow, some way make this a part of my everyday.
Never. Business never even crossed my mind, which is even stranger.
Hello and welcome to this next video of our YouTube series or video series where we are interviewing business owners from around the world, finding out how they managed to grow the business from where they were way back in the day to where they are now, and just trying to mine the golden nuggets that you can apply to your business, whether it be just starting out or you've already been going for a while, just trying to see it from the people that have gone through these things, learn from their lessons, and try and share that knowledge with everyone so everyone can use it and grow their businesses. In today's episode, we sat down with an amazing guy by the name of Nick Briton. He is the owner and CEO of a company out of the UK called Yum Cars. They are a premium detailing product supplier, whether it be to car enthusiasts or detailers themselves. They supply mostly in the UK, but obviously expanding internationally, which is amazing. And I had a really good conversation with him. He has a lot of insight, and it shows what someone with a pure obsession and passion can do throughout the difficulties, everything from global pandemics to just the chaos that is in business. So I hope you managed to find some interesting takeaways in this. I know I did myself, and yeah, I hope you enjoy the video.
Okay, well, Nick, welcome, man. It's a pleasure to have you on. Been very excited to have this conversation with you and find out just everything about you, your business, how you started to how you've got to where you are now, and yeah, just excited to go through this with you.
Yeah, I'm super excited to join. Looking to share some wisdom to everybody who will listen or watch this. So, yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, I did a bit of research, obviously, before coming on. You know, it's always a good thing to do, and kind of went over your story, and it seems like you had quite a wild story with sort of how you got here. Obviously, for those that don't know, you were in the military for a very, very long time, and you and your partner Kelly, I think it is,
Yeah.
you guys joined together, both from military for many years. I think it said you was 16 years, and then you guys
In 17 years. Yeah.
moved into this venture over here. 17
Yeah.
years, sure. What
Yeah.
was, I mean, if you don't mind, we can dive into that a little bit. How that went? Was it straight out of high school? Did you do any university or college? What was the reason behind you kind of going into the military?
Oh, okay. So, I've always been an educated person. My parents are both academic or an academics as they speak. They've got an educational based business now. So again, your typical. I went to the first few years. Again, I'm not fully English, so in fact, I'm zero English. So I actually came to this country when I was around 8 or 9 year old. So I did a final year and a half in primary school. I did a few years in a normal kind of UK comprehensive year seven, year eight. Bit of an issue because again, my accent. I wasn't exactly the biggest guy in the world, so my parents decided to actually put me to a private school. So it was an all boys school, small classes, 8 per class. It sounds strange when a comprehensive school's got like 30, 40 plus, per class. So I did private school there, went to sixth form, and the goal was to go to university. At sixth form, I did a bit of stuff for the Olympic kind of trials for the 2012 Olympics. Again, thought of going to
Oh
uni.
wow.
Just
In what?
it was a first rowing. So because I'm now 6'6", I know you probably can't on video. So I had the kind of the mechanics for rowing. So I did that, and I went down to
Yeah.
Loughborough University, and they kind of said, "Look, you're good, but maybe you should go down towards another event or another class." So it was the heavy throwing stuff. So it was shot put, javelin, and hammer throw. So for 6 to 9 months, literally while I was at sixth form, which was awesome to me because I wasn't doing no studying, I was driving down to Loughborough University from Durham City, so still quite far. And we did basically all the trials, high performance trials. Can you do this? Can you do that? I met some cool people while I was there. I met Kelly Holmes, Dwayne Chambers, who's the probably one of the more successful 100-meter sprinters on Team GB. And then it didn't really work out because I'll be honest, once I started doing a bit of research, the money is not what people think. People look at the Olympics and think, yes, Usain Bolt kind of money, but the heavy throwing stuff is
Yeah.
self-funded.
I've heard it's a grind to get into that, and the money is just it's not what people think at all.
Yeah, and if you look at the size of most guys who do that kind of event structure, they're all big guys, which means a lot of food, a lot of supplements, a lot of training, and most of that is not actually subsidized. Sponsorship money again is on the more publicized events, so the track and field, basically. So it wasn't really for me. I look back on it now at 31-year-old. Was that the right decision? I don't know. Maybe I could have got somewhere. Maybe I couldn't. I mean, who knows? So that was
Mm.
over. Finished my sixth form. Graduated with decent A levels. I went to look at university. University wasn't my thing. My parents were, again, very intelligent. And even now, people think it's a certain path. You do school, college, uni, you get a degree, you go and find yourself an average job. Let's be honest. Most
Mm.
jobs now require a degree that aren't actually paying as well as you think, apart from if you're like in the medical field, science field, all these type of things, which is not my thing anyway. So I didn't go to uni. So from 18 till about 20, I bounced about. I don't go out, so I'm not a drinker, I'm not a smoker type of thing. So it's not like I had a party life anywhere else. I just worked, and I tried to find my feet. And I couldn't get my feet. I'm just a weird person, I was in and out of
Mm.
jobs, and it just, yeah, it didn't really work for me. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to join the military. So I initially tried out for the Royal Air Force as a pilot. I've got the aptitude mentally, but physically, pilots are my height, unfortunately. So I couldn't do that. I then went for the Royal Air
Yeah.
Force Regiment, which is kind of the frontline role of the RAF. Luckily, I failed that fitness test. Knowing what I know now, I'm glad I didn't pass. And then I went into the British Army after a bit more research. I thought it's got more jobs if I ever want to transfer, do a bit more stuff. So I came in, I passed my tests. I had three options on the table, which I chose. It was intelligence corps because I could speak Russian and Ukrainian. And obviously, if you look at what's happening in the world now, it's amazing. I could have been an asset. So intelligence corps, military police, because that's what I wanted to do when I was, 18 to 20, but they just weren't recruiting people with no experience. And then, like every young man, join a frontline troop, infantry, shoot some guns, as they say. I got all three options and I made the worst mistake of my life. I decided to join the infantry, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Worst mistake of your life?
Yes.
How come? What was the reason for it being the worst mistake?
Well, it's not the most qualified job in the world, let's be honest. You have probably a very high chance of not making it in one piece or alive. There's another obvious kind of there. And again, looking back on it now, I'm not the most infantry type guy. I'm not the fittest guy in the world. I'm probably one of the bigger guys in the world. So I'm like literally a mismatch of body parts running around trying to look small. So yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah. And that's just me being like in hindsight.
Okay, so you ended up then joining the army, and then I'm assuming you stayed with them for a fair number of years.
Yeah, so I did 6.5-ish years. The way it works in all services, if you're just talking the basics here without getting into the schematics of the specialist kind of role, but usually you have to serve 4 years and you give your notice at the third year point because it takes 12 months. It's called resettlement and they really apparently look after you and all this. So I could have left at the 3 year point. I didn't. I actually transferred, but basically the story was I joined the infantry. I then went to a regiment called the Rifles. It's the biggest infantry regiment in the British Army. I then went to the specific battalion, so 2 rifles, which is based in Northern Ireland. Again, if you know the basic history of the British forces in Northern Ireland, it's not exactly the best scenario. Um, so I went there because I knew they were one of the very last infantry-based regiments going to Afghanistan. So for some reason, I don't know, maybe I fell on my head when I was a baby because I just said, I need to join this battalion because I want to go away. So within 6 months of me passing out, I was literally on the front lines at whatever that was at the current time, in Kabul, so which is the capital of Afghanistan. So yeah,
Sure. I can imagine that's quite a difference from, I suppose, what you're used to in the UK from everything. And it's always been a wonder of mine, especially in the UK, the training that you guys go through there, to everything from the environment, people, cultures, all of that. Especially
huge.
it being in a war zone at the same time.
Yeah, it is huge. I mean, heat is for one. I mean, I've been to hot places. A lot of people have been to hot places going, oh, it's 48 degrees or 40 degrees, whatever it is. And they say, well, I've been to Spain, Portugal, whatever, and it's been that hot. I'm like, yes, but you're in shorts, enjoying a pina colada. When we are in, full kit, body armor, helmets, etc., you get the drift. And we're on our feet, whatever,
Mm.
16 hours a day or in heavy vehicles. So it's slightly different. Yeah.
Very, very different. Very different. You think it sounds all well and easy until you're actually wearing it, plus the gear, plates, everything, and then you're in that heat and moving under high stress environments, and then you quickly realize, oh wow, very, very different to what you can imagine in your head or what people can tell you.
100%.
Okay, so you obviously served there for a while. I mean, I'm sure we could go into many, many stories there, but if we could fast track towards towards it to the end of your career and the beginning of this, I think it's fair to say a self-professed obsession with detailing and vehicles and cars and all that.
Okay. So very, very long story short, I tried to transfer to the intelligence corps, which was one of my initial choices, at selection. I got blocked. First time paperwork was lost, apparently, then it was blocked, etc., etc. So anyway, I knew my time was over. So I got back from Afghanistan with, for the first time in my life, as a 21-year-old guy, with a big lump sum of money, because one, I couldn't spend it all, and two, I got a little bit of money. So literally 7 months being away, all money saved. I got back and I've always said to myself, I'm going to buy myself a nice car. That was just me. So I got back. I knew that I wasn't getting transferred. So I thought, you know what? I can see the kind of end line of my life here already. Got back to Northern Ireland, went to Belfast Audi, which at the time I was doing a bit of research on Auto Trader as and when I had a bit of kind of signal, which was a bit tough, but still. And I knew there was a car available, basically like it was a brand new Audi S5, but like an ex demo. So it was on show and stuff like that. So brand new in a sense that you can imagine. Literally, I got back, my car was dead, 7 months in rain. So the battery was flat, car was moldy, etc.
Hmm.
Um, Went in, I dropped all that cash on a brand new Audi S5, no finance, no nothing. And I got back and I literally, like that same night, I just YouTubed how to look after your car or how to clean your car, whichever search term it was, but you get the idea. And my whole life changed with one search.
Really?
Yeah, very
Was it just a
strange.
moment of being, wow?
I always appreciated cars. This is where obviously I'm missing a lot into the timeline, of when I was younger and all this. Like I'm sure every
Yeah,
man
yeah.
appreciates a nice car. It doesn't mean they can, they're car guys. But if you see a nice car roll down the street, you're like, that's quite nice. So I was always one of them people. I just never had the means to buy one.
Mm.
So
Okay, so then after putting that money down, I suppose then realizing what you actually have, and you're like, wow, okay, this is obviously very expensive, but you want to look after this thing. And then you then going to YouTube or whatever searching how can you look after this or however to protect it, whatever the case is. And was it just like was there a lot of content out there at that time? Was there a lot of information? And was it just like an instant, I suppose, light bulb of going, wow, this is actually fascinating. I am, yeah, enthralled by this.
Yeah, that was 2013, so YouTube wasn't like brand new, so there was still content out there, not as much as there is now, of course, but there was enough content to get me kind of
Yeah.
going. So, yeah.
Okay. And that started it. So that is, did you just start consuming all content and then purchasing things, buying things, testing things?
Yeah, so I've got like unfortunately I've got an addictive personality. If I want to be lazy,
Okay.
trust me, I'm the laziest person in the world. I can be the biggest, kind of slob imaginable if I don't like something. But if I do like something, this is where my extremism kind of comes in. At the time, like I said, was I consuming content? Literally, my lunch hour at work, my evenings. So imagine I'm 21, 22-year old. I should be doing other things with my life, right? At that age, especially with a nice car, I should be out driving, all that type of stuff. Nope, I was on my bed and I was literally just watching content. I found it so interesting. It's weird because I never did like in that way. And I just hours, hundreds of hours of content. So strange.
Wow. That must that must have been very strange. Did that sort of, was there a question in your mind that thinking this is something I could potentially pursue or do because you've never had that, I suppose, obsession take over like that before? Was it something that like I want to do this for the rest of my life? I want to somehow, some way make this a part of my everyday.
Never. Business never even crossed my mind, which is even stranger.
Okay. Did you have any? Did you have any sort of other business inklings before? Or was it just military, and then you were just cars and detailing and looking after it, and it was just that was the obsession at that time,
I mean, what you
purely.
said, yeah, at that time, that was probably the obsession at that time frame. I've always, again, with the example I gave about every man appreciates a decent car. I think also every person, this is male and female, wants to earn more money and be their own boss, that dream life and all that type of stuff. So again, I think everybody has that in the back of their heads somewhere in whatever capacity. And I had it in my head, I thought maybe one day I'll save a bit of money and do something. I didn't know what it was. And that's literally probably at the time as far as the thought ever went.
Okay, and then if we go to the point where it started turning in that direction, how did that go? Were you detailing your own vehicle, friends' vehicles, and then either started making money from that, or how did it transition to the point where you're like, oh, this is something I could potentially pursue as a business venture and make money out of it and enjoy it at the same time?
Yeah, so when I was still in Northern Ireland, I think even though the military is a low paid job, everything is subsidized. So I think my take home pay at that point, including the bonus of being in Northern Ireland, I was taking home after all my expenses about £1,800 a month, which at 21, 22 is not bad, I must admit. And
Yeah.
the fact that I don't go out, I don't drink. So it was basically just play money for me. So honestly, a good £1,000 a month was going on just investment into this whole obsession. It was products, everything. It was honestly, I kid you not, it was actually really bad. But that's again addictive personality. Um,
Did
you know,
anyone sit you down and be like, hey, let's not waste this much money on these things, or did kind of they just leave you to
that left me to it. In the military, it's people
it?
literally throw money
Yeah.
up the wall. So I was one of the good ones. Let's just say that. And I just literally
Okay.
started. I had a roommate, and I said, "Look, can I wash your car?" Then the word spread, and I was charging £10, £20. It was literally not even to make money. I was just not even covering the cost of the product anyway. And I got round, and I think I probably detailed everybody's car on base at one point. So include my superior officers, which is strange because there's a rank structure involved. But on weekends, I was washing their cars. And then I got all the kits. I transferred eventually to down south. I was based in Aldershot, so Hampshire. I had a different car at that point, another financially irresponsible decision. This is like fast forwarding so many years. I had a bit of an accident. And at this point, I thought, right, my parents live in the northeast of England. So from Hampshire on a good day on a Friday, it could take you 5-6 hours to drive. So basically, the body shop did a good job on my car, but it wasn't perfect like it was before it had the crash. So I had two options: drive home for the weekend and basically do like a paint polishing thing on everything that was, body shop spec. Or there was a company, one of the bigger retailers within this industry right now. They were literally across the road in Aldershot. And I approached them and I basically said, look, you know me from kind of the forums and the name dropping and all that type of stuff. Can I basically borrow your studio to polish my own car? Which was, looking back on it, that was a very, very cheeky request, very cheeky. As a business owner now, that's very cheeky. And I said, on top of that, the job that I do right now, which was recruiting for the military, the rule was, if you're not working, you are not coming in, kind of in the office. And luckily for us, sometimes our recruitment drives were 2-3 weeks apart. So for 2-3 weeks, and Kelly can attest to this, I did no work. Like literally, I was sat in my room. So I offered this company my services. I know it was free money, right? So I
Yeah,
basically
that
said,
sounds pretty good.
so I said, can I please come work for you for free? I don't want no money. I don't want no pain and product. I just want to come. And this is where, again, addictive personality and the passion kind of side of things. Nobody would do that for free. But I said, look, I want to do it for free. And basically, I learned to polish at a more professional, faster level, let's just say. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And is it so at that point you are working for the military still and you've started venturing into more of the uh, intricacies of detailing and all that kind of stuff? Where did it cross over from then going into that full time? Did you go from when you eventually retired from the military straight into starting Yum Cars, or was there various other things in between that?
Well, probably a year and a half prior to the story I told you, a lot of people saying, look, like you are weird. Like all my friends and acquaintances saying, like, if you don't do this as a business, you'd be stupid. Like you can't go and work at Tesco now or something. So that idea was in my head
Yeah.
and it got to a point, you just need to do a basic search, how to start a business. And there are so many intricacies and legalities that need to be done. From somebody who's never owned a business, I thought, oh my God, I've got no support. Kelly knows nothing about business. My parents are in a service-based kind of business, which I believe is a little bit easier than when you're talking retail and stuff like that, because there's less problems when you just deal with people. So I was on and off for years. And then one day Kelly said, Nick, you're leaving the army. Why don't you just go and start this business and we'll somehow make it work? So I did what nobody else should ever do in business. I left probably the most secure job on the planet, right? There's only one way you leave that job and you know which way that is, right?
Mm.
And Kelly was at that point, 11 and a half years in, she was the fastest promoting female to become a sergeant in her time. So she was like, she's good. Yeah, very good.
Wow.
So she started to ease off anyway because she knew she was going out. But by the 12-year point, which is like a big anniversary in the military, it's like your half pension. She could have been, a higher rank even before she left. So she knew she was going out. I left a little bit earlier because, again, the military threw a spanner in the works, as they always do. And literally, I literally, I left like I was in jail, right? I left with a T-shirt on my back, a little bag like this big, and I was literally out of the gate, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden I was a civilian again. And it was all a rush. I moved up to the Midlands where our first kind of premises was. We had to sign for it, money down. So literally, I moved into an area I knew nobody apart from Kelly's mum and brother, where I've had no existing client base. We had no social media. We had zero. So I was literally starting with a blank sheet, and a little bit of money saved. And we opened the doors. Like literally, we said, let's go somehow.
I mean, it's amazing to hear, and I think uh, it's funny how many businesses start in a similar way to that, kind of regardless of area that they're in and that they operate in. A lot of people have just gone for it. There's no real plan. They're going for it, and it's either they fully committed and there's not much to lean back on, which can be a blessing and a curse. Obviously, if things don't go well, there is nothing to lean back on. But it also lights a fire under your ass where you have to go forward and you have to figure out and answer all of the questions and put out all the fires and everything, because flip, this is it. Like,
Yep.
like we're going for this, and you kind of have to give it 200% at all times, every day, all day. And I think
100% agree.
it does require a specific type of person, and I think it requires a specific type of person to at least be consistent with that. It may be easy to do that and say that you can do that, but to then do that and continue doing that for multiple years, especially when things continuously go wrong, because as I'm sure you can attest, things go wrong all the time. It doesn't just fix itself and then it's all roses after that. It is a constant barrage of things going wrong, and you're just figuring out how to somehow solve them.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people that are starting businesses, they wait for the perfect time. They go, okay, what stars need to align for this to happen? I need to have this, I need to have that. And there's obviously credit to that, to be smart about the way you do things. And if you can do it in a clever way that minimizes risk, that's way better. But also, oftentimes it's never really the best time. You just have to go for it.
I agree. And again, if you read Business 101, Business Startups 101, I think we tore out every page of that book. It was yeah, it was just not what you do. 100% not.
Yeah, yeah. So if anyone is wanting to start a business, just know there is not a perfect time. And whenever people say how amazing great it is, they do not mention the terrible times where you're sometimes sitting and staring into the abyss, wondering what the heck do you do next. But there are moments of absolute bliss and amazement which seem to carry you through those dark times. One of my favorite, there was a quote I saw by Elon Musk, and he said, I think it was long ago, and he said entrepreneurship or starting a business is like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. And every day that it's pretty bad, I just think, I'm like, yeah, that's about right. That seems to be spot on.
100%. I mean, you could spin it so many ways, but that's a quote that's quite true.
Out of curiosity, were there any sort of traits or skills or anything to do with mindset that you then had coming out of the military, then going into the business? So I think it is quite a well documented thing that a lot of people coming out of military sort of backgrounds, then starting in business, seem to do better on average than, let's say, most civilians going into business. Was there anything that you found that translated over rather well, that helped you in growing this?
Yeah, I mean that example is true and it's not true, because it depends. The people, for argument's sake, if you had 100 people leave the military, okay, you need to look at the percentage who were in the military. If you line them up, how many of them, or what the percentage of them were good people in their jobs, and the majority of the times, they weren't that good at what they did, whatever the specialty was. So those people don't go and do a job anyway. And the 1-2% of people that leave and who do start businesses, they were good in what they did before. They're going to, well, attempt to be good in business.
Mm-hmm.
At least the effort's there. Now, again, no special skills. I would say my business. Well, every business eventually is the same. 1+1 should equals 2 or a little bit more. Um, but I think what I personally took away is I was very uncomfortable in the military, especially the last few years. So in business, I mean, I was ready to put in 20 hours a day, not eat food, because I was actually used to doing that anyway, kind of theoretically. So that was my trade. But Kelly's trade, because she had a specialized job, she was a serious crime investigator. So she's very analytical. Yeah, she's a
Mm.
dangerous woman. Like, honestly, if I ever disappear, she'll hide me super well, because she knows all the tricks. Yeah, so she's very analytical. And she, honestly, I think she's my secret weapon. Like, Kelly is like next level. Like, so she's not a rocket scientist, but she's just very hardworking, and she'll put A, B, C together in such an order. It's basically like a case file to her. So I think that's my secret weapon in business is Kelly, if I'm honest. She may not know car
So
care as much. Yeah, it's not formulas or how do you make a car shampoo, because to be fair, it's not her job to know that. Obviously she now knows through 5-6 years of doing it. Is she as literate in it as me? 100% not. That's just life. There's a subject matter expert in every field, but everything else that the business requires, the back end, which, let's be honest, is the most kind of important thing, she runs the business. So, yeah.
so my wife's also involved in our business, and a lot of people always go, "Oh wow, it's interesting. How do you manage that dynamic with it being your partner and then also your business partner?" Because a lot of conversations at home could turn to business, especially if there's a lot of things that need to be sorted out or fixed or whatever the case is. And I personally and always maintain it's amazing because it's someone that fully understands the way that I operate. So even if I may be frustrated or agitated on something, they know so well that it's not with them or whatever the case is, that it's dealing with something else and it doesn't necessarily affect the relationship, and they can know that it's not coming out of a demeaning or horrible place, or if I was being cranky for whatever the case is. Um, but also then I know I can go to them, go to her, and I often go to her and I say, hey, listen, just read over this email, just check this thing. Does this make sense? Am I being silly in my thought process of this? Whatever the case is. And I find it being her being such an amazing sounding board for either wild ideas, questions, or issues. And yeah, I don't know if that's the same for you. It sounds like she helps a lot. As you said, you guys help each other and all of that. And I think it's personally amazing also having that dynamic within our company.
Yeah, exactly like you guys. I mean, unfortunately, I will say this, that the business does get taken home. You talk about it, especially the fact that we're on social media. Social media follows you anywhere. I mean, where can you potentially, in any other area of life, potentially contact some high level person within a company, maybe even the CEO of some companies? It goes everywhere with you. Unless you turn the phone off and unplug, as they say, it follows you everywhere. So, yeah, she's my sounding board. I'm hers. Again, when it gets stressful, that's when it gets tough. A lot of people say, how can you work together, live together, eat together? But I think that's just a testament to, I think, just a relationship. If you're solid as a couple, whether you do business or have two separate jobs, I think the answer is the same.
I agree. I agree. As long as you have each other's backs, and you both know it, I think it's such a powerful thing.
How,
Um,
I think, for me, the trust, I know that if I ever have to leave, she can handle it. It's scary, I feel so comfortable. If I have to go to a business meeting down south, I just know things will get done, which is just a nice feeling.
yeah, the pressure that takes off mentally, just knowing, okay, that is being taken care of. It's not on my plate. It is, I know it is sorted, and that
Yeah,
is frees up your mental capacity as well to think about whatever you're doing, whatever other problems or things that you're wanting to grow, um, which is invaluable. And I think a lot of also business owners don't do that, whether it be with their partner or other team members, being able to trust them with doing those sort of things so that they can then either focus on the other aspects and actually do those to their full capacity. Because we as humans are very bad multitaskers. At least that's what I've noticed within myself. And to be able to trust someone to do something else, and okay, they're giving 100% to that, and I can give 100% to whatever other cases, can move the needle in a business a lot more than people think.
I agree, especially about multitasking, especially as men. I think most men can't multitask. So, yeah, unfortunately.
I agree. As much as I used to, yeah, as much as I thought and I used to boast about it, I can do it all. Absolutely not.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. All right. So with your guys' products, I want to kind of maybe move towards that and see how you guys do that. But in regards to the early days when you were starting Yum Cars, we can even go into how you chose that name. I'm not sure how you guys got with Yum Cars, but you're pretty much known for being a premium detailing product company. You guys have very high-end products that are trusted by a lot of people. What were sort of the ways that you grew that in the beginning? So obviously you guys started, you got your location, you didn't know anyone there, you didn't have a brand, you didn't have a name for your company, or you didn't have your name out there, to put it that way. What were the channels that you went and grew? Was there one that you focused on, or was it just trying multiple different ones and then one stuck and you kind of went with
Well,
that?
even before I left the military, we were already speaking to chemistry teams because you have to do that. Unfortunately, it's not a week's kind of process, it's years sometimes. So we're already kind of talking. So I knew that was going to be a slow burner. Now, we got our location and we thought, right, while it's being developed, okay, I don't know, is it going to take 6 months? Is it going to take 6 years? I did not know the answer to this. Now, we started working with our hands as well, just to try and pay the bills as much as we could, and also use that opportunity to fast track the different versions of the same product on multiple cars, sometimes hundreds of cars. So, obviously, if you wash your own car all the time, you will eventually get a false positive because the car's clean or it's not dirty enough, whatever the test is. So we use the customer as
Mm-hmm.
the test subject while giving him a service, while charging for that said service. So that was that. So if you actually look at the inception of the brand was legally born March 2018. We then opened our doors in August 2018. So again, a massive latency in the opening kind of time in between that. And then we didn't drop our first product until January, February of 2019. So if you think about it, almost a whole year has gone by of zero. But I mean, obviously, everyone wants their money. The landlord wants money. The bank wants their money. So it was very tough when you were very new. Nobody wanted to use you for the service side of stuff, whilst at the same time trying to dump money into a liquid range. Very stressful. I can't even actually paint you that picture. I don't know how we're still here. So the product didn't actually drop January, February of 2019. Okay. And then when it did drop, as you can imagine, saturated market, a little bit more expensive than the rest. We probably had 5 orders, 5, 6 orders for that
Wow.
whole year. So that was nothing. Um, yeah,
And you
uh,
launched that in January, February,
of 2019. Yes.
and 5 orders for that whole year.
Yeah. Atrocious.
Sure.
So again, I think this is where I'm just I'm going to show you my naivety at the time in business. You know, now you look at it, and the influencer game, YouTube game, all these different things obviously are a lot more elevated from 2018, 2019. But we didn't approach no influencers. We didn't do any filming. It was very poor, right? And this is, I think, where our lack of business acumen kind of really showed. As in, if I was to start another business right now selling pens, for example, I think it would grow so much faster because I'll pick up this pen and I would say, boom, boom, all these different things would start happening because I know what works a little bit faster, but I just experience. And we were very inexperienced back then. So, yeah, 2018-19 was literally a dead 2 years for us. Zero income.
Okay, that is wild. I would actually like to just hop to a different question, and we can carry this on, because you're obviously going through this scenario and you having to figure it out. And as you just said, if you started a pen company, you would know what to do, and you would be able to get it up and running way quicker than it is that you guys did when you started. For someone that's just starting, that potentially listens to this, and they're looking to start, whether it be their own product line of whatever business they're wanting to start, what would be sort of some actionable steps that you could say for them to get going, to not waste money, to potentially get sales, and then to grow? How would you do that now?
I mean, if it's within our industry, I can give you a two-pronged answer to this. If it's within the car care product business, I would say don't do it unless you want to make a difference to somebody's life. If you literally gonna wake up tomorrow because you may see us on Instagram with the cars or this international distribution, like a distributor we go and see, if you see the 0.1% and think I want a piece of this, and you go to a white labeling company and literally just rebadge flavored toilet water, right? If you're going to do that, don't do it. Like, absolutely don't do it, because like this is where it's, I think, and this is every, by the way, industry. This is where I think it ruins and dilutes the industry. There's so much, not necessarily cheap, but even low quality items, because there are some very expensive things. I'm sure you've bought something that's quite expensive, that's not the best quality. And that just kind of shows of people caring. So if you are going to do that, please don't do it if you're watching this. But if you do want to make a difference, whatever that difference is, I always say just do you. Passion will kill everything, in terms of the competition and all that type of stuff. If you're passionate enough about being a toilet cleaner, I'm sure there are toilet cleaners out there somewhere where are making $1 million a year or £1 million a year. I'm sure there is, because they're just experts in cleaning toilet bowls. I'm sure me and you don't find that very interesting, and we would be absolutely horrible at the job. But there will be a certain subset of people who are rich because of a very niche business or interest or whatever it is. And that's literally passion. Do you, and try and make the best you can. Whatever that is, content, product, impression, just be the best version of yourself every single day. I've learned that the hard way, unfortunately.
Would you say that that's when you started? It was more you wanting to make it, and not also then realizing when the difficulty comes in and it gets tough, and you just wanting to make a quick buck, and you just see what everyone else is doing. That's when it really shows whether you actually build a really good product, you build a great business, and as you said, you're actually wanting to help people. Like, if you're really wanting to do something that makes other people's lives better in whatever way that is, if that is not the goal, then it's going to suck, and it's going to feel like you're just being dragged along the ground all day, every day, and you're not actually going to end up potentially succeeding with that.
100%, because at the end of the day, everybody can make £10. I'm sure me and you can launch a water company or something like a water bottle company and make £10 a bottle for the first time, but you get no return custom. Like, the first £10 and it's done. That's not the goal in business. You want to be
Yeah.
a legacy business doing 20 years, 50 years in business. And I mean, that's the way I look at it, right? I think
Yeah.
from an art perspective, I am correct. Some people may disagree, and people say a business is designed to go from 0 to 5 years, make it viral, sell it, off you go somewhere to the Bahamas. Maybe, but it's a weird way of looking
Yeah.
at it.
I think, I mean, yeah, I think it does change for everyone. And there are so many ways to get to 10. You can go 8 plus 2, 11 minus 1, 5 plus 5. There's no, I think, real formula to creating a business. There's advice that you can follow when certain situations arise, but you have to follow your own sort of path to get there and figure it out along the way. There is no instruction manual, there is no guide necessarily. And I think with your long term view on business, that long term horizon that you're looking at will make it a lot more worth it, but also it shows in your work and it shows within your products and the services that you offer, because people are like, okay, they're not just doing it for the quick buck. They are actually trying to grow a business that is successful in 10, 20 years. As you said, 20, 30, 40. And I think that shows to people. Like, people realize that they're like, okay, I can actually trust these people, because if they give me a crappy product, I'm not going to come back, which means they're not going to be around in 10, 20 years. So you have to make sure that your product is worthwhile, that that person then comes back and then tells all their friends and family about it. And I think that just shows, even if it's not said, it shows through the workmanship and the product, the service, everything like that.
I think if you're a certain level person, you can just tell. Like if you've got a little bit of common sense and a little bit of intelligence, you could usually look at three examples, A, B, C, and you could tell who's who usually. And I couldn't. Me and you may not know nothing about the people, but you can just tell.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let's jump back now into what you were saying there. You launched, you had 5 customers in the year. How did you guys, what did you do? What was going through your mind, and how did you continue building from there?
We cried a lot, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, looking back in hindsight, if we were as quiet then, with everything I know now, and trust me, I don't know everything even now, but still, with the stuff that I know, the quiet time, I could have absolutely killed it with filming, content creation. So that is a bit of a shame, if I'm honest. I missed out probably on the only opportunity I will ever have of being completely guaranteed nobody's going to walk through my door, because at that point it was guaranteed. So what we did is we tried every single step. And this is why sometimes when people talk advice, I'm like, this doesn't work no more. I mean, we literally knocked down doors, built new ones, went underground, literally short of dragging people in from the street, we tried everything. And then at a certain point, I don't know what it was. It clicked, and we still can't point the finger towards what happened. But I think we gave out enough free product to enough people, that eventually one person made the right video, and it went to 2 and then 4 and then 6. And yeah, that's what happened. Literally, we just tried everything. And if you look at the early stuff of YouTube, like obviously the timeline, 2018, 2019, we were dead. So you could see the content I was making in those 2 years. I was trying everything. And again, my sound wasn't the best. And my camera was, like a potato camera, but that's all we could afford. So, but at least we tried.
I can imagine the stress, as you said. You can't quite explain the terror that happened within that time. Did you guys have a certain runway to a point where you said, if it doesn't work at this time this year, we're going to have to call it quits? Or
And that's not even a conversation we ever had. It's, at the end of the day, I would never say I've got X amount of time to monetize this, because some people run faster than others, and everyone's got a different journey. And people say, "Oh, look, you've burnt all the boats, you've burnt all the bridges. What are you going to do if it doesn't work out. I said, look, if I spend 6 years doing something that I love, I've changed people's lives internationally. There's people from all over the world who write us whatever emails and fan mail, whatever you want to call it. If it never works out, then I can go back to a normal job. And that is usually the normality for everybody else. If you think about it, most people wake up 9 to 5, they go and work their 38 and a half hour weeks, whatever it is. I can go back to it. So my fallback plan is the normality for everybody else in the world. So that's my mindset. I hope it never happens though.
It doesn't seem like it's going to, the way things are going, which is amazing. And as you said, like, that is the worst. You just go back to what everyone else is doing. Like, when you put it in that sort of perspective as well, I think it can, in the tough moments, you're like, okay, that's fine. Doesn't matter how painful it is, whatever the case is, I can go back. That is what the reality will return to. And then I can have another shot at whatever else that I'm doing. Which I think can ease the inner demons in the mind sometimes, and just be like, okay, then let's just keep going, keep pushing it.
Yeah, I mean, we got so many demons anyway, like mentally. I know there's people watch us, and again, I may not get a video that gets 50,000 views every video, but I know enough people watch us, the wrong style of people. And I know every time they want us to fail, and there's that negative energy being projected. I'm a big believer in the law of attraction and karma, and whatever you want to call it. And I do believe sometimes when you have a bad day, or for example, you and your wife may have a really bad day, it's like, there's something wrong with her. And you can't put your finger in. I do believe people can like project negativity out and you just absorb it because we're decent people. And I do realize there's probably a percentage of people who watch us who want to see us fail every single day. So if they're watching, I just say, well, just put on a good show every time, and just try and just do you every single time and forget the rest.
I think that's a very good mindset to have. There's people project so much crap, to put it lightly, and like the best thing that you can do is just let it be like water off a duck's back and just be like, fantastic, I hope you enjoy that. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. See you later. Yeah. And I mean, it's just the weight off your shoulders of actually just stop caring what other people are thinking and just kind of putting blinders on, just looking forward and being, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. If you have enough time to be able to project all of that, it would be a lot better spent focusing on yourself rather than looking this way and just spewing all that nonsense. And I think that is also one of the side effects of social media, unfortunately. But that's a whole separate conversation in regards to. That's a big conversation. Yeah. Okay, and then I mean, along this vein, then as well, you said one video kind of made it go, I don't want to say viral, but it started the uptick in the sales then, and you started growing and pushing it. Did you guys just have one product at the time? Were you just selling one or two things, or did you have a range?
No, so we had two products at the time. It was basics, so I wanted to start with the core range, as much as I could. So we had, basically the stuff that any man can pretty much do on a Sunday afternoon, at home. I didn't want to go too niche. So we had two products, then we had three products, just very slow. It's called a development cycle. You cannot do something super quick, even if you've got some like serious money, like it's impossible. It takes time sometimes. So when you see a company launch within our sector with 47 products and a ceramic coating that can last 97 years, but they've only been going 2 months, like, where that's come from. So, and that's me putting it very nicely.
In a very polite manner.
Yeah. Just common sense.
Yeah, it takes time. Okay, so you slowly built up and just over time introduced new products, and it grew and it grew and it grew. did you have people coming to you and saying this is something that we really want, or was it just stuff that from you sort of figuring it out, being okay, this is the next sort of product that I want to introduce, or was it a bit of both?
It was mainly it's me because again, what I'm about to say next is I mean it in the nicest possible way. Okay, so obviously we talked about the story of me spending whatever £1,000 a month on products, 500 ml bottles. I'm sorry, but nobody else is doing that. Okay. Or very few people would be able to do that. So sometimes I didn't listen to people's opinions because I'm thinking, well, you've only bought 6 bottles, whereas I've bought 600 bottles of a certain product. So I think I may know a little
Mm.
bit better. So I just did like from the start, I could see, in today's conversation, I could see 20 years ahead. Um, but how I get there, I do not know. Like literally, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I can see 20 years. And that was the same thing back then. I could see 2024. How I was going to get there, I just had no idea. So like literally, I just projected and I thought, right, this is the product we're going to do. However long it takes, 1 year to develop, it takes 1 year. So we just did that one by one by one. Weird way
Okay.
of thinking. So
It is. It's unique, but it's amazing, and that's one of the reasons why I want to chat to people like you, is to hear these stories and uh, yeah, find these little nuggets that people can take and be like, okay, someone potentially has the same sort of are in the same scenario, and they say, okay, that's fine, that's rational thinking, or maybe it's not rational thinking, but there's other people that have gone through that exact same thing or doing the same thing that see 20 years down the line but have no idea what the next step is and just go, okay, well, I'm going to take it and we'll figure it out.
yeah.
So I think it can be a comfort to a lot of people knowing that there's others that are doing it and are successful at it at the same time.
Well, if anyone's watching this, there's many unstable people. I'm probably the president of that association. I am unstable, irrational, everything.
I
So,
think we all are, to be honest,
in some way, yeah,
in some way, shape, or form.
definitely.
Um, yeah, but it helps. And then, okay, so from creating those products, it started growing. You obviously then have all the back end of the business that you're growing. So there's developing the products, figuring out how to distribution, figuring out inventory, cash flow, all of these things. That's a whole separate side of the business in regards to actually making the products.
Yeah.
But in regards to the products, how do you go about sort of creating that product? You said you would spend thousands of pounds finding out different products and seeing what's working, what's not working, testing it over various vehicles and different things like that. I don't know if there's any trade secrets that you do not want to give away in regards to how you develop a product. But what is sort of that process like, to from conception to then actually putting it on the shelves, putting it on the website?
Yeah, so obviously you already know that I watch a ton of content, tens and tens of thousands of hours within the car detailing industry, right? So that's already done kind of thing, and it continues to evolve every single day.
Yeah.
And then because of my pure passion, I buy thousands of pounds worth of products every single week, month, whatever. So over time, I have built up a collection. So let's just, for argument's sake, say we're going to develop a car shampoo. So I've already got 282 shampoos, let's say. But if I'm missing some of them, say the top 50 or some random stuff that I've just found, I will go and buy it. And I will literally go and wash my car and other test cars hundreds of times. And of course, like I'm sure in say with you, you will have a favorite something within a certain industry. Okay. And you know it's good and you keep buying it and buying it. So it was the same thing for me. I had my favorites already. But you still have to test even the favorites to see how good they are or how bad they are. So um, I I buy everything. I test it off camera, and I'm like, right, this shampoo, let's call it shampoo A, is I really, really like it, but nothing's ever perfect and nothing ever will be perfect, unfortunately. So I would take it and I'd be like, well, you know what? The dilution is too weak, or the slickness is too something. There was something that I didn't like. And then what I would
Mm.
do is I would take my favorite one, I would take my top three, and I would take my top five. Everything excels in their own way. And with our team, I literally say, take this from this, that from that, all the key factors of a
Mm.
shampoo, um, blend it together, and let's see what happens. And that's version one, usually. Okay. But don't forget, when you're talking about a slickening agent, there are 730,000 variations of that one agent. There's some expensive stuff, cheap stuff, slick stuff,
Yeah.
American, but there's all these different things. So, and this is where V1, 2, 3, it's just a never ending story. But I take the best what I believe, and I believe when I film that, when I tell customers, I say, look, guys, I'm just speaking to you from the heart. I've tried all the stuff on the market. Like, let me at least point you in the right direction. Don't buy from me, but at least listen to me,
Mm.
And some people buy, some people don't buy. So, and we would blend all these things together, and we have version one. Always fails. Always fails. Something goes wrong. Things, when you think of a 500 ml bottle, of all the different things to make it go together, one thing will
Yeah.
say, I don't like you, or I don't like that, and it will kind of split. It will curdle. It will just completely not work. Yeah, it's a tough one.
And then it's iteration, iteration, iteration.
Yeah. So just to let you know, at the time of this filming, right now, March, there's a product that has been on 50 to 100 cars for 6 years. 6 years. And that's whatever I did a little
Wow.
slip on YouTube about a year ago saying I'm very close with a ceramic coating. And ever since then, it's 20 points of contact of some description: phone call, email, Instagram, all the usual. And people like, when's it coming? You told me last year, I want to see it now. And that's probably the heaviest development we will ever do on a product. 6 years and 2 months, because we started it in January. So yeah.
Sure. That's wild. And that's, I mean, I think that also then shows the rest of your products. And when people know that when it does come out, at whatever point it is, people will then have faith in knowing, okay, this is right. It is done right. As you said, it wasn't just brought out from some company that started 2 months ago and they've got 42 different products claiming 98 years worth of protection or whatever the case is. This has been 6 years in the making. And it was actually when I was having a look at your website as well, I saw that it wasn't there. And it was a question that I just had in my mind. I was like, I wonder if they are still testing it, if it is something that they're going to bring out.
What, the
Um,
coating?
yeah.
Yeah, listen, it's one of these things. There are so many big players in this field. I mean, huge. I know some sneaky peeky stuff as well about certain companies who are at the top of the level, and I know how much money's behind them. So when you want to knock the king or
Mm.
the queen off the top, there has to be something. You either beat them on price, quality, whatever it is. And this is why we're holding very, very carefully and tactically until it's perfect. Then, don't forget, this product will go on cars worth millions of pounds. There could be a Bugatti in Florida somewhere where it'll be coated in this coating. So I want it to
Mm.
be perfect.
That's good. How is the you mentioned pricing, and what are your opinions on pricing? Because you said there's one way you can beat them and one way is to lower your price. What is
Yeah.
your opinion on all of that? Knowing that you guys are obviously more of a premium product, and when you launched, you also said that your prices were slightly higher. This is always a fun question. and see people's
I,
answers.
I hate talking price. Like literally, I can give you so many analogies. I mean, what do you want to hear? As in, will we ever be cheap? Do I agree with cheap? What are we talking?
Do you agree with cheap? Because from my point of view, and I've had a lot of people go against me on this as well, is I think price is the last thing you should ever compete on. And you should never judge a product by its price in regards to you and other companies. It is on the product or the service or the value that you are providing for the client. And price should just be, um, if they see what it does for them and how it improves their life in whatever way, price should be the last objection. And that is my personal opinion of pricing. I just wanted to see your take on that.
Oh Jesus! You better get ready, my friend. Get strapped in. So,
Let's
so
go.
look, in terms of pricing, look, I've got to set up for this. So in terms of pricing, there's nothing wrong with cheap. Absolutely not. Like if you want to sell, anything for a pound, right, you go ahead. Like, look, you've told a person I am using, the cheapest materials. It's literally a thing that may break. You may chuck it in the bin, but who cares? Because it's a pound. You can go and buy another 50 of them, right? It's not going to affect anybody's life. At that point, okay, that you're buying something, you know what you're getting, right? And then that can be stepped up in so many, as you go up high and high in price. Now I'm saying, is the premium pricing model also foolproof? Absolutely not, because let's be honest, a certain perfume, is it worth £600? Like coming from this field, I know it's not. At that point, you're paying brand power
Mm.
and all these type of things. So that also doesn't work. The extreme luxury tax. Now, where we are, I always find it very funny when people say, "You are so expensive, you're unaffordable." I'm like, my friend, it's a £12 car shampoo. £12. And if people are literate, it's not even £12, it's £10 because we've lost £2 to the tax man straight away. So all of a sudden it's £10 and they all think it costs one penny to make. I mean, I wish, like, I would be retired yesterday. So, and I'm like, £12, if you think that is expensive and it's a life-changing amount of money for you, because everybody's circumstances are different, and I'm trying to say this as nicely as I can. If you can't afford £12 to bring a smile on your face, don't buy it. But don't say it's an expensive product, because that same person will go to Tesco tonight or Asda, wherever you shop. They'll buy a bottle of Gordon's for £25, right? And if they're good enough with it, it's going to last you 3 days.
Yep.
Like, and that is, I can just argue that one point alone is just the alcohol tax. Or the smoke tax, but something that you can buy for £12
Mm.
that will last 6 to 8 weeks. You think that's expensive? I'm sorry. That's I mean, we've had nice things. I mean, this
Then we're
building.
not for you.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, these people, if that was the end of conversation, what you said, if that was the full stop, I would take it and I'd keep my head held high. They can keep their head high. But then these people will go on internet, forums, Facebook, and they
Mm.
will start regurgitating just hate. And if you look in the right areas, you will hear about me things that you probably won't believe I'll tell you. And I probably won't repeat them on here. But as far as they're concerned, I'm FBI's most wanted man in the world right now. And I'm like, come on, guys, I'm selling you, just a premium whatever, car shampoo, wax, etc. So the pricing point really kills me. It upsets me more than it should.
Okay. I mean, I can see why though how it can affect so much else. It just, as you said, people go and just spew whatever garbage then on the internet about it, and then it transfers into so many different things from there. Um, and if it was the full stop where it was okay, it's I find it too expensive. I won't buy it. That would be great. But as you stated, it doesn't.
I'll give you an example, right? Imagine me and you, we went to Ferrari dealership, and poor old Sandra on the front desk is sat there, and you say, how much is that car? They say it's 200 grand. And you're like, well, I can't afford it, which a lot of people say, I can't afford that Ferrari, and they walk out. But then me and you, we hang around and we start shouting and screaming, and how a Ford Fiesta is exactly the same as that 200 grand Ferrari over there. Imagine if we did that in a normal civilized world. Me and you would be in jail right now. But for some reason, the car care industry thinks it's acceptable to do that same example, but with something at 12 to 15 pounds.
And just spew it all over the internet. Keyboard warriors.
Keyboard warriors. I mean, they should be denied the Wi-Fi password permanently.
There should be an entrance test for anyone when they apply for any sort of Wi-Fi or internet.
Honestly, I think I've said this a lot of times, like in social media, in general, I think it's like a grading test. You could almost do it in like the educational system, like infant school, primary school, etc. Like a lot of people are still in that infant school, like they don't know how to handle it. And even like me,
Yeah.
you, probably when we first started, we're so literate in social media. And now, probably like myself, I could probably say I'm in primary school level of social media. I'm no expert, but I know how to conduct myself. And there's some people who are like, the pros, university level. And a lot of people are at the basic level. They're literally just they type like this, and they don't think what that could do to other people. So
Yeah, it's the unfortunate reality of being stuck behind the screen is you do not understand how that actually relates to someone else who is another human being standing. 90% of these people, 99% of these people would never say this out loud, let alone to someone standing in front of them. But it is okay across your phone or your laptop,
mhm.
which it still blows my mind. And I mean, like we said earlier about social media and all that sort of stuff, it's another wormhole that we could go down, but let us steer clear of that for now before we ruffle too many feathers.
You are right, though. Everything you've said, you're right.
All right, okay, so steering clear of that. With growing it, with creating a product, selling them, people complaining about prices, all that kind of stuff. You guys have created a pretty good community as well. You've got your detailers, obviously, that also then buy your products and use them for their businesses, but you guys also have a massive sort of car enthusiast community. I've seen you've done like a few events at your guys' place where people they come with their cars. I'm not 100% sure what else you did there. You had various events, it looks like. How do
Yeah,
you
so it was
guys,
coffee.
how do you go about that? What's your plans for that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about the community because I always say this. I've been a consumer of product, a buyer in every industry for way longer than I've ever been in business. So I understand how it feels, to be talked to correctly or not correctly. And this is why I'm literally regurgitating my vision back into the business. But the community is so important. So what you saw, the cars and caffeine event, it was a huge, we've had huge problems in business from day one. And the first 2 years, but then I can tell you about the thing where the world closed down for 2 years. I won't say it, but you know what I'm talking about. Everybody was at home. And then
That thing.
that thing, yeah, because the algorithm likes to pick on that word, so I'll just keep that one quiet. And then after 2 years, where it nearly sunk us, we then decided to move into the place that we're in now. So that was another 18 months of just war zone in every level. So the cars and caffeine stuff, it started last year. And even then, that was my idea pushing Kelly, saying, Kelly, if you can't wait for that moment because it's never finished. I mean, even now we're in 2024 and this is still not finished. So we could have had another year of just nothing. So the one that just went, the 3rd of March, which is the first one of the year, it was cold for 2 weeks. It's been raining, snowing, whatever. And I thought it's not going to be that busy. Now, we had about 800 cars turn up of all descriptions. And probably, yeah,
800.
yeah, give or take, give or take.
Okay.
Yeah. And then probably double that in people, or maybe one and a half in people because some people came on their own. But imagine a couple usually kind of comes together. So,
Mm.
like, literally, I know you've never been here, but a normal industrial estates, left, right, left, main road, all this. We were on the main A road, backing up on like a busy national highway A road. The police were
Oof.
here. Yeah, it was crazy. And like literally, if you go on YouTube and type in Yum Cars, obviously our brand name, and then just go on the upload date and press earliest first, you will see all the YouTubers are on the corners of that event and people obviously wheel spinning and stuff. Whether I agree with that or not, I will leave that hanging. Um, but you could just see it was just car after car. It was crazy. So we are all about the community.
That's amazing. How many events have you guys done now since then? Is it just the one?
No, so we started them in August of last year, so 2023. So August, September, October, November, right? So that was 4 to kind of do the year. And then we've just started our first one here. So it's 5 at the new location. And then we did, if you look back at the events page on our Facebook page, you will see that the last one was in 2019. 2019. So
Sure.
big, yeah. And that's because of the things that happen in the world. You just can't bypass that. Yeah. So long, long break.
Sure. Okay. But I mean, to have 800 vehicles, 1,000 plus however many people is crazy. I can imagine you just must have been gobsmacked, just awe in that moment of being like, what? Half of your brain's just in shock, and the other half is, how the freak are we going to sort this out and not get arrested for what we're doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be a mess. How big of a mess? Nobody knew. So we had our whole team out there. High vis. I said, so Kelly's nephew, he's 15. I said, do you want to earn some cash in hand work? You go and stand on this gate, and his friend, go and stand on this gate. So trying to get the whole gang together. We've got special radios, long range radios, because I'm literally half a mile down the road at the entrance. So it was like we invested in all the kit just to try and feed that flow. But no matter what we do, eventually there was cars on top of cars, and it was just after one point I gave up. I came back here and I was like, look, people are intelligent, they will not crash. Let them do their thing, they can walk around and all that type of stuff. Yeah. I've got faith in humanity.
That's good to hear. I think too few people do. For these events now, like, do you have another one planned soon, or what are sort of the future ideas for that, but also the brand as a whole, like as you guys are growing?
Yeah,
I know
so
that's quite a loaded question. It's got many different facets in it, but
the first Sunday of every month is the Cars and Caffeine event. This year is probably going to be the first year where we're kind of set in this place. So I want to do more events on Saturdays, more ticketed, kind of limited number of events. So basically our core group of people, if they want to come, learn how to wash cars, all that type of stuff. Basically bring the people together and magic happens. Now, in terms of where the brand can go, or we're planning on going, that's that's a whole video on its own. What I've got in my head is just complete craziness, like just nuts. But we're always learning as well. So when we first started the business, I thought, let's do distribution. let's go and flood the market, have a distributor in every country. Now, if you actually look, if you do a simple Google search, how many resellers of our brand is there in the UK? Zero. Okay. And that is done by design. Whether if you look at how many resellers we have of our brand internationally, we literally did the opposing pyramid, right? Usually people start local and grow out. We grew internationally and then kind of try to grow in the UK. So whether it's strange, whether distribution is the correct answer, I still, as recently as a couple of days ago, we had a business meeting in here. Is distribution right for us? Because in a cost of living and business crisis worldwide right now, everything is going up. You have to give your importers, of course, the best margin because they need to feed their fathers and mothers and whatever, the families basically. And then the shipping of things is going up and up and up. So is it worth for us to basically make like 1 penny? It's literally, it gets so negligible if you think about it. Like the cost of a pallet, I'll give you an example. A cost of a pallet is £100. On a big order, we go through £500-600 in cardboard boxes where you put the products in. You've got the pallet
Mm-hmm.
wrap, all these things. So we don't charge for that, by the way. Okay. This is a shipping company will say to ship to America, it's going to cost you £1,000 per pallet. So we obviously try to give our people the best head start. We literally charge £1,000. If that's what it costs, the importer gets charged £1,000. And but all the other costs on us, time costs, packing costs, we don't charge for that because if we do start doing that, it may become so unfavorable to sell our stuff that people just leave. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know yet. Time will tell. But we are reviewing our distribution because what we have found is some people do want to buy £1,000 worth of stuff from you. Again, I'm using the word 1,000, but imagine. But they want 99.9% off. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And then when you hit
Okay.
people
I can
like a big
imagine
one,
there's.
I'm sorry.
No, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, if you hit people with a big order quantity, nobody wants to do it, right? Everybody wants the smallest entry point at the highest discount. And sometimes I wish that was the case. I would love that. I think everybody would love that. Yeah, so we're just reviewing it right now, doing it by case by.
Okay, I'm excited to see what is going to happen then in the next few years as we watch you guys and remembering this conversation, seeing what ends up playing out, and who knows, we may chat again and look back and be like, what was the learnings and the decisions that were made from that? Because as you said, especially with what's happening in the world, like there are so many different costs that go into it that it could just doesn't make it viable for other people. And is that the right way to go? I don't know. And you guys also have to pull the trigger on one of them at some point, and then if it works, if it doesn't, you just figure it out. So
Exactly.
I'm
I
excited
think,
to see.
yeah, I mean, to give you that long-term future, potentially, again, I don't know if this is going to happen. This is what I want to do. This is my master plan. And I will say it publicly, if people want to hear it, great. If people want to copy it, great. It's so hard. I know that we are literally lone wolves in this kind of journey. So I think it's almost uncopyable unless you put in some real work. But we do want to have a US location, like basically take this building theoretically and transplant it across, the ocean, somewhere favorable for many things, mainly weather. And what are you looking in America? You're looking at Florida, Texas, stuff like that. Again, I need to do a bit more research on both. Those two states are favorable in taxation again. But then they hit you on other things. So it's basically 6 and 2 3s. It would be super cool if we could have one of these places in the US where we import our own product, because at that point it becomes favorable, because it might cost you £1,000 a pallet or £1,500 a pallet, whatever it is. But if you ship a container, a 40-foot container to yourself, do you know how much that is? Right? So a 40-foot container which can hold 14 pallets, may I say? Okay. It's a 14 pallet thing, right?
Okay.
And if you average a pallet at £1,000, it's 14 grand in independent pallets. 14,000. A container is around 2 to 3,000.
That is substantial savings right there.
But then you're forcing somebody, your importer in the US, to say, what, to get a container, you need to spend 80,000, 100,000, whatever it is. It depends what to buy. And nobody's going to do that unless it's been there a while, of course, and it's kind of like the cash flow for that business is great. So we've just expanded to Japan, and their first order was 7 or 8 pallets. So basically a small container, 20 foot, going to Japan. And they dropped some serious money because they realize if the company who owns the company, they're already in other business and they know what the multiples are of, basically bulk and stuff like that. So they played the correct game, and shipping to Japan is just extortionate. If you think America's bad, Japan is just like almost unviable. But yeah, I mean, with America, for us, it's so easy. I don't have to buy my own product. I literally pack it, I send it on a container, pay a couple of £1,000, but it's already in America, shipped, imported, taxes paid, which means the American importers, if they want to buy half a pallet, one pallet, who cares? It's already in the US. You do whatever you want, my friend. And I think that's the long-term goal, is to have 2 locations, just change more people's lives, man. Fill more. It's the simple things I want in life. It's not really like, I think the older I get, it's not necessarily making 100 million anymore. It would be nice, but a lot of people just look at it as a number and say, I'll have 100 million in the bank, but they don't realize that every time you jump a zero, it probably times 10 your life expectancy reduction and gray hairs and all this. People think it's easy to do that. And I think as long as we're all healthy, everybody's paid really well. I will never pay people really badly. As long as everybody is supporting their families really well, happy. And as long as I've got a few cars and some very nice cameras and I can be left alone, I think, honestly, I would be
You're happy.
quite happy. Not content, but happy enough.
I think you can be happy. It's always good to have that little bit of ambition to be like, okay, something to chase, something to do. Otherwise, if you're just stuck there and you've reached the limit, you're like, okay, well, once you finish playing with all your toys, you're like, okay, what now then? And you can go back to chasing a little bit of something or just trying to do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Having those things, being healthy, having your relationships, having a few nice cars, cameras, whatever it is that you're into, to fiddle around and play with and just enjoy it. You don't need 100 billion. You don't need these massive numbers, because what do you do with it at the end of the day as well? If you've only got 24 hours in a day and you can fill it with those small things that you enjoy.
Yeah. You can only buy so much, I haven't bought everything in life just yet, but I've bought enough expensive-ish things to realize that yes, it's nice. And personally, I did it for myself. Okay, I never bought anything to say, haha, look at me, I'm like whatever, because that thing I really enjoy. So but then after a while I'm like, well, I'm no happier. I've got for example, we waited two and a half years for that purple 911, which you've probably seen on the YouTube content. And I stressed over it. It's the most expensive thing I ever bought, like a single thing. It's the most expensive thing. And I stressed and I thought I built it up to something it's not. And I love that car. I sometimes sit on my very nice downstairs chair and I will look at it, right, after I cleaned it, and it's weird, right? And sometimes I go back to my Northern Ireland army days where it was like literally a bucket and hose. And I thought I've come enough, or quite far, whatever. But still, with these things, there's only so much you can buy. I mean, how much money do you need? It's good to have good money to where you change people's lives, and eventually when I've got nothing else to do with my money, my other split, I mean, we get approached for sponsorship and charity work and all that type of stuff. And I always say no to them because, and I know it sounds horrible, because I know for every pound you put in, probably 60, 70 pence of that pound goes to running the charity and not the charity itself. So when we do it, imagine Young Cause Charity, whatever it is, when we put all the money into it and we actually go and change people's lives, I think that if that's going to be a legacy of me and Kelly, I think that's what we want to do, and actually go and build the homes, shelters. And I actually had an idea last year outside. We've got quite a big car park. Last year wasn't the right year for us. A lot of stuff happened. But I want to do like a food bank, like a line of food you see, pay for it all ourselves, invite all the catering companies, and then put it out in the newspapers or wherever the best place is, just to tell the homeless that on this weekend you get fed for free. So
I mean, I've had the exact same thoughts as well, that like I always say, have my own gripes with charities and various organizations like that, knowing that sometimes a vast portion of what you actually donate doesn't go to what they say it is. And you can do that yourself. So if you have the spare cash coming in and you can actually help change people's lives, like, you can do that. You'll find a lot more fulfillment, even if it's selfishly for you knowing that you're helping other people. But you'll actually be able to make a hell of a lot of a change in whatever way it is, whether it be starting a little food drive or building schools and homes or whatever the case is. I think at the end of the day, we are here just to help people, whether it be through business. And if you make money through business, you can do it in so many different ways. And if you can do that, I mean, what more could you want from life, really?
one day, when everything's right, I mean, you can't go and save the polar bears or the wars or whatever that's happening in the world. You can't save any of that until money appears. Right? Okay, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
And until it's right, you have to look after yourself first, get it right, and then eventually you go and get other people right. And I'd love to do that because we're kind people. I've got half my family still over in East Ukraine, and they're currently getting bombed and all that type of
Wow.
stuff. Yeah, and about all the other stuff we just talked about, people in the comment sections and all. I'm like, guys, you've got no idea. Like, if you think your life's hard, I mean, our life's not hard even, but still, all this stress with business and economy, your family getting the bombs lobbed over their head. You just think eventually, no matter how hard you think you are, somebody has a breaking point. And by the way, I'm not saying I'm close to my breaking point. I want more. But it's just to put it into perspective that more things happen below the surface than what people usually see on a YouTube screen. So, yeah.
I agree. And I think if there's anything, that's one thing people can take as well from this conversation. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you are a very busy man, lots of things to do.
Love it.
I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate your honesty and ranting about people over the internet and pricing and all of it. I enjoyed it. I hope people take something away, some information, some nuggets of gold. And if they're a bit pissed off, that's fine. They can go and rant in their pillow if they want to.
Or they can write in your comment section and rant. Hint.
There we go.
And it increases the algorithm that nobody knows about, and your podcast is going to go boom.
So if you are, like, comment, dislike it even. Maybe not do that, but you can comment. Let us know what you're very upset about. I'll be happy to reply. I'm sure Nick could even throw 1 or 2 replies in there, and we can discuss your gripes and issues.
Yes, please, and it's free to do so.
And on that note, Nick, I appreciate it. We'll put links to all your places, to your website, socials, Instagram, YouTube. If people want to go check you out, there's a whole bunch of podcasts that you have done as well that explain more about your company and brand and products and all that kind of stuff, as well as information on detailing and all that. So if people want to find out more, and if they don't know about you already, they can go down there. And yeah, it's exciting to see what's going to happen in the future. I'm very excited to see these things that we've spoken about and how they play out over 2, 3, 5, 10 years.
Hopefully, I'm more excited for you as well. It's I hope it takes off. Like I always see, when you get a nice person, and you can, like I said, you can normally judge a person by even just the face or even the first sentence that they say. And I hope you take off, man. Like huge, and then we can go and challenge Joe Rogan, and then we can have a three-way, and it'll be just beautiful.
That sounds fantastic. Hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to that as well. Watch out,
No, I
Logan.
mean, like, I'd love to, maybe 2 years time, 1 year, 6 months, whatever the timeline is. I'll be keeping my eyes on, and if you ever, want to revisit or do a 1.2 version of something, I always like to talk about good things with good people. So
Same here. I think we should definitely do a version 1.2. We can even do it on your podcast as well.
yes, I'd be happy to do that.
Yes. Put all those toys to the test.
Oh yes, look, it looks like a therapist office. Honestly, those chairs are beautiful. By
I
the way.
know. I'll have to come and visit you, and I'll just sit there and I'll just cross my hands on my chest and just sit very still and tell you all my life's problems.
Honestly, those chairs are very deceiving. Obviously, they're fresh. Sometimes I sit in them, and they're so comfortable that you actually don't want to do any work. So, yeah, but you can come test them out.
All right, I think we'll have to do that then. Most
Yes.
definitely.
Yes.
All right, Nick, I appreciate it, and we'll chat soon.
All right, we'll chat soon, my friend. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.